Sagittarius, I see. It's interesting. It's interesting because Leo got Capricorn, I see. I use, and for you, we're getting Sagittarius, I see. So Sagittarius is really good at seeing things from the bigger picture. They are the teachers as well as they are the students, and how they have that dynamic is by literally being who they are in the moment and what they know they live by, and that therefore teaches other people. And then what they don't know, they notice from other people. So they gather that from their experience of being the way that they are. So everything that they have, everything that they know, has come from a place of being, a place of openness, and a place of discovery and curiosity. And not to mention too, some of it actually has a lot to do with them being stubborn. Because if you ever try to tell a Sagittarius what to do or how to do something, they'll look at you like, okay, and still do the other thing anyway. So even as much as you would love to help them push them into a different direction, their stubbornness will always reign supreme, and they'll ultimately learn the lesson that you were trying to tell them initially without any sort of input whatsoever. All right, so how does this pertain to you, though? Some of you guys may be seeing a Sagittarius, but I kind of feel like the situation here is about seeing things from a different picture, from a bigger picture, or rather, this could suggest that this is talking about tapping into a higher place of learning, a higher place of a higher place of learning and understanding your belief systems, your spirituality, your connection with the divine, your connection with yourself, your divine energy. So this too can sometimes be a spiritual calling. But I feel like how you see this and how you go about this belief system may be something that will ultimately change your lifestyle. Now, if we're looking at this from an equal house system from Virgo rising and sun, your Sagittarius would be your third house. Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, your third house. So how you communicate is based off of philosophy. Sometimes this could be changing, but Jupiter is at home right now, so it could be something different. You guys could be, gaining a lot more different information, changing your perspective, and perhaps expanding it even. Okay, so let's see what we got going on here with Sagittarius and see why the reading is showing up with Sagittarius IC. Well, I'll explain the placements as they go through it. So the underlying energy is the Fool. Like I was saying, approaching a situation from a place of learning, not from a place of what you know and what you've already experienced, but keeping an open mind. The Fool is not coming into the situation, judging it, or expecting something from it. This energy is clearly being and exploring and following whatever their hearts desired. Okay, and so, of course, right, the Nine of Pentacles comes up underneath here. This would suggest that you do feel and are in a position to do this. The Nine of Pentacles is a good card when it comes to financial stability, feeling good about about yourself and what you've been doing, right? Feeling good about who you are. It does signify a good self-esteem and independence, but it also could suggest that maybe there was a sense of boredom, and now you're going off on a journey to learn something new. Just open to whatever comes your way, and you're not necessarily having this feeling or this nagging feeling to kind of go based off of some sort of status quo. I feel like you're actually rebelling from that, and you're doing what you want to do versus what you believe everyone else or the world is telling you what to do. So already, very Sagittarian vibe already. So starting out, right, you have the heart of the reading being Five of Wands. So this would suggest that either some turmoil, some conflict, or some sort of challenge that you're faced with yourself or other people. And it could be to do with work, it could do with some sort of financial situation or something that's being focused on, or whatever you're focusing on. It's being affected. So, like, for instance, for some of you guys, you may be in a situation where work is hard to concentrate on because there's so much drama in the workplace. Some of you guys may be trying to work hard on a relationship, but there's so many things that are going on in the relationship, or there's a back and forth regarding something going on in this relationship that it's hard to focus on bettering this relationship because there's still not a lot of seeing about it. There's not a lot to work with. So even if this is regarding yourself, right? Perhaps you're torn between a couple different ideas or certain beliefs, and therefore it's hard for you to focus on a certain direction or something to work on. You can't work on anything, but it's not a bad thing. I feel like this is not necessarily about revision, but it's about being free and making the decision that truly fits you. Now, in the past, this is kind of interesting. The past has the Five of Swords in it, which would suggest to me, that the Five of Swords would be that there was a lot of conflict, a lot of fighting with people, and perhaps you guys were just trying to, like, you know, some of you guys may have been just trying to be right, and for some of you guys, you were just trying to stay, you know, stick by what you believe. Stick by what you believe. If that ended up cutting people off, then so be it. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself and what you believe is correct. And I don't know if you either felt like you could compromise, or if there was anything to really adjust, or based off of how you've seen things. But I do feel like the Five of Swords could be a card that would represent some sort of feeling of, not necessarily regret, but feeling like there's questions surrounding whether or not it was worth all that work to do. But I kind of feel like in some ways it is. At least for you, how you've seen it, it gave you space to go ahead and do something new. At least put you in a position where you explore, you experiment, and you don't necessarily have a perspective or a certain way of thinking. You have an open mind to it. But I feel like here with the Five of Swords, there was no open mind, and the open mind pushed people away. The way you were thinking, or the way other people were thinking, were either pushing you away or you pushed them away. Either way, the situation still found itself to be some sort of victory, but that victory may have felt empty. So that's why the Five of Swords can sometimes come up as the empty victory, because even though we may believe that what we're fighting for is something that would honor us, it still may not feel that great to end up either hurting someone's feelings, or losing a friend in the process, or losing someone someone that you cherish their time and energy with. So it can be very difficult, and sometimes it may not separate people or make people leave, but it can leave a situation feeling a little sour, if that makes sense. So that being said, I feel like through the conclusion of what this energy was for you, right, and seeing the situation as brutal as it was, I feel like there has been a ultimate decision to change a certain tradition, or change a certain structure, and this has to do with your routines, what you believe too. Like I was saying before, Sagittarius has a lot to do with faith, a lot to do with philosophy and what you believe. But what you believe is shaped by seeing things from the bigger picture. And of course, the Hierophant is coming up in your present, which is the priest. And if you notice here, he's got monks there. So there's no coincidence that Sagittarius is coming up out and Hierophant is coming up, especially after I've already said this is about what you believe. So I feel like right now you're reworking what you believe. The conflict is not necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily to do with people. I think people are like the triggers for them. But I feel like ultimately the turmoil that's coming up is really one with yourself and what constructs have existed that formed a lot of your opinion. A lot of the way you think, a lot of the way you believe, a lot of the way you structure and organize your life, and a lot of the routines and the schedules that you've accumulated, the structure that you have for you being who you are is ultimately changing. It's changing because you don't necessarily, I don't know if you agree with this perspective, or this is not how you would want to live your life, right? This doesn't resonate with who you are. Usually the Hierophant doesn't just talk about, sticking to, this is talk about religions and organizations and things like sticking to the status quo, but it would suggest too that you're changing your belief to what you do believe. So it's always about belief, but what are you changing your belief to? And with the Eight of Pentacles coming up, it's about what are you working on? What are you working on? What are you putting your focus into regarding your beliefs, or how does this belief change, or this structural change ultimately affect how you see things and how you focus on things and how you progress in some area? And I feel like how it kind of manifests is by working with others to expand your knowledge, to expand your, what you want to learn and where you want to grow and all this wonderful stuff. So the Three of Pentacles here in your future would suggest that there are people around you that are willing to help you and are willing to help to expand your horizons, but through through seeing things or changing a certain belief system. I did this for Aquarius. I pulled them an extra card, but I want to kind of get an extra card for a Hierophant here. See what other information we can get for the Hierophant. What is the Hierophant suggesting for Virgo? What is Hierophant trying to say for Virgo? What is the Hierophant? Why is the Hierophant in the present? That's the question I want to ask. There we go. Why is the Hierophant in the present? Okay. Hierophant is present because of the Two of Pentacles. You're weighing the pros and cons. You're weighing what's fair and what isn't fair. You're weighing the value of a situation or a choice. It's almost like, yes, you had these belief systems and this idea before, and now you're like, well, does it really mean anything to me? Does this really have any real impact? Is this something that I can truly stand by? Is this worth losing my friendships over? Is this worth having arguments for over petty stuff over? Is this really the facet of it? And sometimes this has nothing to do with conflicts with people. It could strictly do with being, with noticing that you're in an environment that's not very healthy or not very, encouraging or supportive. Or you're noticing that this entire time the situation around you has been, hasn't really been very very fun or very it doesn't feel good to be around. It's very cold, very detached almost. And of course, right, having this as your structure for so long, if this was your structure, this is something that definitely needs time to think about. But I feel like for a lot of you guys, it's just being at odds with people or being not really seeing eye to eye, always feeling like someone has got the upper hand or someone always has to be right, that could kind of feel like it could kind of get old and boring. And then two, you may have had a situation where you just were done with letting people talk to you or treat you any kind of way. And this would lead to, of course, right, a lot of the work, self-work on what you believe and how you see yourself, which ultimately would go back to the Hierophant. I feel like, Virgo, you're keeping an open mind because you're noticing you're not the same person that started off wanting to help people. You're now wanting to stand by yourself and stand by your belief system. And I don't think you're trying to change your mind from being someone that's avidly fighting for themselves. But I do believe that you are wanting to have boundaries in place that will keep the people that don't appreciate you out and make sure that the people that do are stay in and are, that are cherished and truly loved. Your intention you want to shift your attention with this, which is what it looks like. And you have been by figuring out what about you, what routine, what structure, what consistencies about your life do you want to change? And you're doing this by seeing, by measuring, by experimentation. Three of Pentacles would suggest that you're seeing who works to get best with who, who you can go to with who. Not necessarily trying to pick your friends based off of what you're feeling in the moment, but seeing if there's really reliable people around you and seeing how they can work with you going forward. So, your crowning energy here is the Star. And I think the Star is pretty awesome with this because this is, yes, a card of Aquarius, and you have also the card for Sagittarius here, and they're usually a really good, they're a good pair. But pair as far as friendships. But the Star is coming up as your advice is always referring to shifting your focus. But the Star is also a card of healing. And considering that you've just gone through, with the Five of Swords, some really brutal fighting, some really brutal confrontation, or maybe feeling like you've been betrayed or let down by someone around you or someone close to you, the healing portion from the Star is by focusing your attention to what work needs to be done. And this is something that you're already doing. You're already working on it. I don't know if you're keeping the balance right now, but I definitely feel like you're trying to, juggle a couple things. But I feel like with the Two of Pentacles, you're trying to, I feel like at the same time trying to understand both sides, but you're also taking into account what is really valuable to you emotionally, or at least the Two of Pentacles would definitely suggest that your emotions will play a great factor in figuring out what is of value to you. But the Star is a great card for new beginnings and a healing opportunity, or opportunity to heal from experiences that may have led you to such a powerful change and shift in your life that will ultimately change you for the better. And it's not just forgiving the people that have hurt you, but it's also forgiving yourself for even being involved in something like that, and forgiving yourself for feeling that way, for feeling the bad feelings that you did feel, if there was any. But it's about changing your focus and focusing on what you want to, what you want to bring into your life, what kind of relationships you want to bring into your life, what kind of structure you want to bring to your life. Who do you want to be for you? That's the biggest question. And the only way that the only way for that question to be answered is by you noticing your emotions and being open to the information around you.